Are you ready for a series of questionable questions with Peter and Jeff from Brand Artica? Your seats and tray tables should be locked and in their full upright position. This is 1/7, the podcast.
I'm making sure that I don't do a Pete Doctor interview where I don't press record at all and we live to the very end. I don't know if you were there when I did that. I was like, oh my God.
I don't know, but it sounds like a great time.
Oh my God. He pointed it out, and I was like, yeah, that little red light should be solid, not blinking. And I was like, oh fuck. He's like, you're gonna get in trouble. And I was like, well, no one's gonna be happy. And,
right.
So he let me interview him on the phone like a day later. So I was like, oh thank God. Today we're joined by my old friend, mentor, and the person who took the biggest risk when she hired me at Disney. She's an influencer. She's the influencer's influencer. She's a former Disney cast member / executive and a culture creator, in my opinion, a mentor, a mom, a rock star. Please welcome to the show, Peggy Iafrate, CEO, founder at Strega Entertainment Group. Peggy, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Pete. Wow, that's some intro.
Yes, welcome.
Hey, Jeff.
Tell us about Strega Entertainment Group. What is it? What do you do? How does it play a role in culture, marketing, all that stuff?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Okay, so how do I answer that in like 60 seconds or less? So let me just give you a little bird's eye view of what Strega started out as, and then what we've ended up as. I think that's probably the best way to summarize. In 2008, I was at Disney with Pete. I was the director of integrated marketing for Radio Disney, and everything was going great-ish. But I knew that if I was ever going to leave, I had to leave. You know that point where if you're going to leave and start and do your own thing, you've just got to go. You've got to pull the Band-Aid off, and you just have to go. And I had this opportunity to work with another friend of mine to start up all of their live events divisions. So I thought, okay, I'll go do that. So my friend Marcy Cohen hired me to go work at Blitz Media and literally start their live events division in January of 2008. Well, by October, I think you might remember October of 2008, things were not good. And although we made some inroads and we got some really cool business, like we did this Dukes of Hazzard show at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, and we did some really fun, freaky stuff that was live, really good, fun stuff. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to keep the boat afloat, and also their business was just crumbling, as was everybody else's. So they pretty much laid everyone off. And so for the first time in my life, I walked out October 31st with a cardboard box in my hand and went, uh-oh. Because I had a son about to graduate and go into college and a daughter in private high school with one more year and then college ahead of her. Big mortgage, the whole 9 yards, and I just, probably didn't plan ahead that well. And I walked out and I said, you know what? I think this is God kicking me down the stairs. It's time. I've just got to do it. So the next day, I called my good friend Tammy, who had also worked with Pete and I at Disney. And I said, hey, what are you doing? How would you like to help me start something? And, in the early days of Strega Entertainment Group, it wasn't entertainment. It was consumer packaged goods. We were doing things like a Broadway Disney musical program for Swarovski Crystal. We were doing a germ defense program for preschools with the Kimberly-Clark Corporation. We were doing all of the promotional partnerships for Hasbro. Just crazy stuff that had nothing to do with where we ended up. But that's where I thought we were going. That's what I thought the company was going to do. But I think if nothing else, Pete knows this about me, I always keep my eyes open and I never keep my mind shut. I've always had an open mind to everything. And this weird thing happened. The guy who I replaced myself with at Disney, Rob Thompson, called me up and said, "Hey, I got this kid. Nobody knows what to do with him. His parents don't know what to do with him. He's 8 years old. He's been on the Ellen DeGeneres show. Could you help him out?" And I'm like, I don't know. So, his name is Anthony Gargiula, and he's a really, really successful, singer now. Does a lot with all the hot commodities on all the social media platforms now. Just great guy, great guy. And it was sort of the start of me just realizing I don't think I can control who my clientele is. I think we kind of have to be like Santa Claus, and whoever lines up to sit on our lap, in a way, we say, okay, let's see what we can do. And that was the day that we started helping young entertainers and young performers get from point A to point B to point C. Because philosophically, I think that whether you are a musician or an actor or an athlete or whatever you do, you're a brand, right? Do you guys agree? You're a brand.
Absolutely, yes.
And so what's the difference between helping a brand who's a human and a brand who's a bag of potato chips? There's really no difference. So we started also helping especially young entertainers. We've never marketed ourselves that way. Never actually in the history of 16 years of business, we've never advertised. How do you like that? Ever, 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 ever. Every single piece of business we have is on referral only. So we started helping kids, and in the beginning it was like 5%, helping young performers, and 95% consumer packaged goods and things like that. And then the young performers edged up and edged up and edged up. And then at one point, right before COVID, we were entirely just helping musicians on the rise. Almost all of it, with a few exceptions. And then I met Piper Raquel through a friend of ours, and she at the time was more of an influencer than she was a musician. So I wasn't even thinking that, I would manage her or I would be working with her. I was just trying to help her, help her and her mom and her family sort of navigate. And it just ended up that we were meant for each other. So for years I managed Piper, and we still to this day have some musicians. But what happened because of Piper is that we realized there's this other business out there, and it still has a lot to do with music, but it's primarily it's influencer marketing, and that's what we do entirely and completely now. Like, our business has just evolved into it. So what that means is I have a stable of about 70 creators that work with me, and I have a stable of about 70 clients that give us business, and I match them up and give the clients paid sound, or give the clients a paid brand deal, or whatever they need. And the creators are making great money, and everybody's happy. And we're now employing 3, 4, 5 plus me. So we're doing it still like with a really, really lean team, but that's what we do now. And we've evolved over time. It's been crazy. Like, we've never put our sights on, okay, we're going to become an influencer marketing company. It just happened.
Yeah, I got to ask, and this is one of the things I've wondered often, Peggy, is, you have a knack for finding talent, I think. Gosh, you found me. I think you just left a little bowl of food out, and I just kept some of that. But there's talent somewhere in here. And, other people like Dave. Dave was
Oh,
an
yeah.
enormous
Yeah.
talent that came along. And you saw,
Yeah.
you recognized things in my experience with you, you recognize things in people that they may not recognize for themselves, and then help them find their place. What markers or traits do you look for in this world of talent now?
I love that. I love that. First of all, thank you. What a great compliment. But I love that it's important, that you see that it's important, that finding great talent, finding people that are talented, is what success. It's the most important success metric to surround yourself with. I look for a three-legged stool. So I want a human being for talent, right? First of all, the most important first stool is that they are talented, that they're funny, they're good musicians, they know what resonates with people. They're not so into themselves They don't have such a big ego that it's got to be their way or the highway. Like they get it. They get it. And there's just some sparkle there. And that's probably the first leg that has to be identified. The second one is work ethic. Because it doesn't matter how great you are as an actor or a musician or an entertainer of any kind, an influencer, I don't care what your business is, what your work is. If you don't wake up in the morning fired up to work and not wanting to quit that day until all your work is done, you're not going to be as successful as we are. And I am willing to work from 6 in the morning until midnight. I am. If I have someone by my side who wants the job, who needs my help, and is willing to work with me.
Peter and I talk about this. So if someone has what we call the fire, right?
100%. You got to have fire. The last leg you're going to laugh at is like, are you not crazy?
Well, I don't know.
Like, does my crazy, yeah. So like I like Pete's crazy. Like, because Pete's crazy is kind of like my crazy. Like, we're both crazy, but crazy like in a positive crazy, not a whoo.
Yeah, not dangerous crazy.
Yeah, not dangerous crazy, not batshit crazy, not delusional crazy, not like what the fuck are you talking about crazy? Just like, are you not crazy? Right? That's what I look for. Like, is there and you know, and that sometimes, especially when you're dealing with young entertainers and young influencers, are the people around you not crazy too? Like, how's the team? Like, how's it all look? So that's the secret for success. Like right now, we actually, out of 70 creators, we have all stars. You know, we have about 18 or so that are just unbelievable. Like, just beyond reason unbelievable. So if a client comes to me and says, I need this, I need it right now, it's got to be amazing and it's got to do super well. Who do you have? There's a very short list I have that I know I can go to. They will drop whatever they're doing, they'll get it done, and away we go. So it's definitely those 3 legs of the stool, though. Not crazy, hard worker, really just sparkles.
Oh yeah, yeah. I actually did some snooping around the interwebs, and I found and read an article in Forbes. It was entitled "The Economic Power of Mentorship," where you, Peggy, are mentioned by the writer. Tell us a little bit about how you see mentorship in the workplace as essential for those in leadership positions.
Okay, so I'm again like so humbled and honored by that article and just the love that I get back from all of the people I've worked shoulder to shoulder with. The first thing, I don't see it. I don't see it as mentorship. I don't. I just see it as being a giving and an all in human to another all in human. That's it. My mom and dad, I remember there was I just want to tell you this quick story because it's important. It's how I philosophically operate. There was a man that lived at the top of the hill. I grew up in Vermont on Champlain Hill, and there was a man. His name was, honestly, this is Hobe Wells. Hobe Wells. That was his name. And he was, I don't even know, a recluse. Didn't have running water. Didn't have electricity. And he looked like he was a homeless man. Like, and I didn't know what homeless was back then. Yeah, I didn't even recognize it. I just knew he smelled, right? So like he would come to our house, and my mother and my father were always so welcoming to him. Hope, come on in. How are you? And it was funny. It was every night that Gunsmoke was on, he would end up at our doorstep. Now, he didn't believe in electricity, didn't have a television, but he wanted to watch Gunsmoke. So he would just end up at our house. And there was this chair. He would sit in it was like this like stuffed rocker that was kind of close to the door. He would just plop himself down in that chair. And I was a little horrified. And I was really, really young. It was kind of like grossed out and horrified. And I remember him leaving once. My mom and dad sat me down like, what is wrong with you? And I said, well, he's smelly and he's dirty. And they said, stop. You don't know him. You don't know his life. You've never taken the time to ask him questions or figure out who he is. From here on, young lady, you are going to treat everyone like the President of the United States. I'm like, what do you mean? I don't care if it's the garbage man. I don't care if it's the president. I don't care who it is. How much experience you think they have. How much you think they have to offer you. you're going to treat everyone like that. So I think that there's that moment in time for me. It's, as you can tell, because I had to tell you the story, it stuck so hard that I think that's why I kind of know how to mentor people, because I don't see them as interns. I don't see them as lower than me. I don't see them as, oh, I've got to teach them. I see them as, okay, they're shoulder to shoulder with me. They're willing to work. We're all here together. Let's go. And Pete knows I only have an on switch and an off switch. So if you're not a nice person, or if I can tell you're using us, using me, using the company, you are not going to survive along with me. But if you're all in, I don't care if you make mistakes. I don't care if you don't know what you're doing yet, as long as you're trying and there's a sparkle there. That's what I believe. And, I think the author of that was Dave Kirpin. And he was one of those great moments in life where he was the Crunch and Munch kid from BU, and he would sell Crunch and Munch in Fenway Park, but he loved Disney and he wanted to work for Disney, and the closest thing he could get was to work for Radio Disney. And he just came in and he's like, I will do anything to work for you, literally anything. Just tell me. I will. What do you need? What do you need? I want to do it. And it was a little weird, right? Because usually people say, well, I don't like accounting, or I don't like sales, or I'm not this, or he's like, whatever it is, I'll learn it. I'll do it. I'll learn it. And to me, that is the best thing you can ever, ever have when someone, when someone pops in and says, I really want to work with you. That's like the best thing on the planet. And so I guess that's my philosophy about mentorship. I think if you philosophically can just put your head in that space and say everybody has something great to offer. So whatever you've got, you got to dump it into everybody you deal with, because then maybe they'll dump what they've got into you and you walk away better and they'll walk away better. And then boom, you've got combustible business too, And people, yeah, we had combustible business at Radio.
We did. And I'll tell you, I remember Dave Kirpin is an amazing, he's a unicorn. He's an amazing talent, as is his wife Carrie.
Yeah, Carrie is also.
And they met in that office, and that's how that all kind of. But I remember he and I, we were like oil and water in a lot of ways. We had such different styles, but there was so much. There was just value all around that, all around
energy.
That energy.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
It's energy,
so much.
right? So your energy was really different than
Very
his energy, but you both had energy.
Yes. And together, we used to go on stage occasionally together. I remember, in fact, one of the funniest things we ever did was introduce NSYNC at the Boston Garden, or TD Bank, whatever it was at that point. And Dave and I got the opportunity to go out on stage and introduce NSYNC to 35,000 screaming teenagers. And right out of the gate, Dave and I are backstage arguing about who's going to get the mic first. And I think I said, look, and he looked, and I ran with the mic to go down the tunnel onto the stage, and I ran smack into a pole. So that's what I get for that kind of behavior. But then, he and I had such energy and so much fun with things like that. I think we used to refer to each other as a team as Oy and Vey.
I love it. Yes.
Okay.
What does all hands on deck mean to you?
It means everybody who's available needs to do everything in their power to get whatever it is done.
What kind of career advice, if you could today, would you give to a young Peggy Iafrate?
I have no regrets. So I would just say, do what you do. Keep your eyes open. Keep your mind open. Just go. And follow your gut.
If you could have a giant billboard anywhere, any place, what would it say and why?
It would say, I don't know what it would say because I need time to craft it, but it would say something like, just be good to each other. Stop belly aching and just be good to each other. I wouldn't advertise my business on a billboard or my services. I don't need a billboard.
What is the most, if there is, what was the most impactful book you've ever received as a gift, and why?
I Love You Forever, and it's a children's story about the succession of love. That's it. It's not all of the books I've read. I'm a voracious reader. My God, sometimes when I was traveling for Disney, I had read everything in the airport. It's a children's book about love and passing it on to the next generation.
What was the oddest job you had growing up?
I was a park ranger on the Freedom Trail.
So this is an important question for me to you. What was it like being Peter's boss?
It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. I freaking love him. We got along all the time. I love outlandish creativity. I love it. And it's why we were so successful. This is how much I love this guy. Like when he needed a place to live, I heard he did. I'm like, oh my God, you can rent my house. And I mean, and I didn't charge a lot, did I, Pete? It wasn't, yeah, it was an economical rental. He burned a hole in our, he barbecued on the deck and burned a hole through the deck. The hole's still there, Pete, by the way. No, it's not. Olivia got it fixed. The hole is gone. The hole is gone. Yep. But, no, we got along like two peas in a pod. Two peas in a pod. Just, I'm sure there were some days where he walked away going, but, that's me. Again, I think that's why I'm also successful. Is I'm a pusher.
You were consistent, and you would support people and give them the drive and the energy and the encouragement to take it a step further. And I'll never forget many of the days. I still have odd dreams about those days. But we all got to learn so much together, and that was really exciting. So thank you for that. I can't thank you enough for everything you've done for me. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if you hadn't given me a shot. I wouldn't.
So just lastly, any thoughts you want to leave with our listeners?
You want to be successful? Keep your mind open. Keep your mind open.
Peggy, I know you're busy. Can't thank you enough for everything, as I said before, but also for taking the time out to talk to Jeff and I on the 1/7 podcast.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here, and it was a pleasure. I loved spending time with you guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. You go have yourself a great rest of the day. Thanks for tuning in to 1/7 the podcast. Discover more about the show at 7ththeword.com. That's 17th.com. If you like the show, please share it with your friends and leave us a comment, and don't forget to smash the follow button. 1/7 the podcast is a Brandartica agency production. Today's show is brought to you in part by Chilk. Chilk is for everyone. Unlike Jesus or other overhyped healthy trends like eating vegetables or breathing clean air, kids love the color and the slightly funky aroma. Moms love the way it can sit on a shelf or a pantry for decades. Seniors love the vitamins and minerals, and millennials, well, they love the irony. Learn more about the facts of Chilk at drinkchilk.com.